I want you to know that I love you. I miss you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Last night on Monday Night Raw, the WWE presented a special tribute show, recognizing the career of Chris Benoit. However, now some 26 hours later, the facts of this horrific tragedy are now apparent. Therefore, other than my comments, there will be no mention of Mr. Benoit's name tonight. On the contrary, tonight's show will be dedicated to everyone who has been affected by this terrible incident. This evening marks the first step of the healing process. Tonight, WWE performers will do what they do better than anyone else in the world: entertain you.
This is not a WWE storyline. This is not even a story of victory or redemption. This is a type of story which still haunts WWE till this day. A family guy loved by his peers, a champion admired by millions. And then what happened in just one weekend that almost changed everyone's perception? This is the tragic true story of Chris Benoit. Let's talk about early days. Chris Benoit wasn't built like a superstar. He was short, he was stocky, he was soft-spoken. But when he stepped in the ring, he used to do stunts which other wrestlers were afraid to do. After gaining a good reputation in indies, he started to travel all around the world to show his talent to everywhere. He traveled through Japan, ECW, WCW. He was breaking bones everywhere, but he was earning respect. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't loud, he wasn't trash talker. He was just good. He was just a good performer in the ring. And he was never afraid to do moves which was quite risky. So that was kind of the thing that made him more popular. The Canadian Crippler earned a cult following because the fans could feel it. This guy was living and breathing wrestling. But even in the early days, there were signs of injuries, concussions, mental depression, and the tough time he was facing off the camera. But no one looked too close. Now let's talk about his stardom. In the year 2000, triple threat match, Chris Benoit versus Triple H versus Shawn Michaels, one of the greatest match in WWE's history. And when Chris Benoit made the Triple H tap, this moment was written in history. And who can forget the duo of Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero? They both holding tag team titles. It was like one of the best times for WWE tag team titles. It was like two underdogs beating the whole system, but no one tried to look behind. In the behind, the scenes were pretty much scary. Both of the guys were going through tough time. Just 1 year later, Eddie Guerrero lost his life because of heart failure. And after that, Chris Benoit was never the same again. What happened next didn't just break fans, it broke the whole industry. WWE almost felt like they hit rock bottom. June 22, 2007, Chris Benoit was scheduled for a pay-per-view match, but he didn't show up. WWE tried to contact him, tried to call him, send him messages, but they were not getting any reply. Something felt strange. Something felt wrong. June 25th, 2007, cops tried to enter in Chris Benoit's house in Georgia, and what they were about to find was going to shock everybody. Chris has his wife Nancy, and then his 7-year-old son Daniel, and then he took his life. The police got to know about this from the evidence they found from the home. No one could believe it. The wrestlers, the fans, everyone were shocked. A talented wrestler who had a great reputation in his company was earning a good amount of money to help his family. He had no enemies and no real-life rivals in the company. So why a guy like that, who was at the peak of his career, decided to take this kind of decision? WWE aired a tribute show before knowing all the details, but the next day Chris Benoit's name was banned from WWE. It was completely erased. That's why after 2006 you would never see Chris Benoit in any WWE games. WWE stopped re-telecasting Chris Benoit's greatest matches. He will never be mentioned in Hall of Fame. He will never be mentioned mentioned in WWE ever again. But wrestling world wasn't done asking why steroids, why concussions, why brain damage. An autopsy revealed that Chris Benoit had a brain of an 85-year-old Alzheimer's patient. And why this happened, you may ask. According to experts, it was a result of years of chain shots, headbutts, unprotected blows. And as you know, I mentioned earlier, Chris Benoit was doing risky things, and most importantly, his brain was getting damaged after every single move. Just to tell you an important fact, you probably know in football or in soccer, heading is completely allowed. But few years ago, some experts advised that heading should be banned from football because it can cause damage to the brain. And I'm sure you probably did heading in football or soccer at least few times in your life. I know it could be a big issue for your brain. So imagine what could have happened to Chris Benoit when he was taking extremely painful and dangerous moves and headbutts on his head in almost every single matches. The main reason was it was CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, and it is also the same thing that is destroying NFL players. It also shows the dark side of WWE, where Vince McMahon never cared about the health of his wrestlers. He always cared about the appearance of their wrestlers, and he always cared about money. Let's talk about the legacy of Chris Benoit in just few lines. A lot of fans wanted to forgive him, but a lot of fans said the things he did was completely inhuman. But there was one person who was left with pain: Rabid Benoit. Yes, Chris Benoit had two children. One was also the victim of that day, but another person survived. Rabid Benoit, Chris Benoit's surviving son, still wants his father remembered as the wrestler. He also says that people just remember him for that one particular tragedy. They all forgot the days where he delivered good matches and gave them pure entertainment by risking his life. But it does feel like people just remember him for that one particular incident, for that one particular tragedy. A lot of people speculated that, can we honor a legacy without ignoring the horror? It kind of shows that the end decision of his life kind of erased his all contribution and achievements. And WWE also never gave a clear answer. They are now just acting like Chris Benoit was never part of their company. The story of Chris Benoit wasn't just about the wrestling darkest day. It was also like a warning for wrestlers who were sacrificing their mental health and body for the professional wrestling. After that, WWE made some serious changes. Nowadays, you won't see wrestlers doing moves by risking their head. Most of the head moves like super kicks and dropping on head pile driver are almost banned from WWE or are performed in a very safe way. Nowadays, wrestlers' head is being who lost their life on that day, especially Nancy and Daniel, and it would always be remembered as the darkest day of wrestling's history. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, you are not alone. Please reach out. Drop a like on this video and subscribe if you want more videos like this.